One of the things that was learned over the years, and one of the reasons for having to hire a team right off the bat, part of this kind of, even as a reminder, came from, I think it was Tiffany High in one of her statements many years ago out of Ohio, the wholesaler. And it just comes down to overall strategy of things. Normally, a business partner, there's obvious reasons for having a business partner at the end of the day. I can bypass the majority of that, ultimately, by just having a small team right off the bat. But you have to have sufficient funding right from the get-go as seed capital right off the bat. Okay. Obviously, in terms of angel and anyways, what I'm getting at, in those situations, me personally, I would structure, even if a partner is required for future debt purposes, for future debt and other equity partners are putting together other funds. At the end of the day, I'm not too worried. If anybody's ever attempting to establish key man risk at the end of the day, there's ways around that. I'm not worried about it. So ultimately, control can still be maintained at Brian's level of things. And that's where we go forward with it. Okay. And control is ultimately the number one, number two in that top two items of things. Normally number one. Okay. Number two is money. Control, then money. Okay. Ultimately control. And so, yeah, control is number one, realistically. And there's a lot of reasons for that because of the long-running historic shit that Brian has dealt with. Whereby parties have attempted, and this is what I was trying to get at with even some of those statements that were made earlier about pivoting and disruptions, because they're there to allow other incumbent parties. The disruptions and destructions were allowed. It's that has only played itself out in the last 17 years globally, not just domestically, globally, as to what happens. Okay, you're seeing it domestically and globally at Brian's level. Okay, at Brian's level, you're seeing that domestically and globally. I'll say that again and again and again until you stop and think about it for a second. Okay, think about it. Anyways, so very important that he has contributing partners. Okay. Without the VC shark terms and conditions at the end of the day, if I ever catch them, it's just an automatic. And that's what keeps slowing Brian down, because there are explicit. This was learned as early as 2011 when it came to TNC. Brian learned that. That was one of the first things that Brian ever learned right off the bat, and that's why it is what it is. So, when it comes to people, when people ever ask what has slowed you down over these years, that's one of them. Okay? That has been the number one thing that has slowed Brian down. Okay? It has to be capital without constraint, without the no strings attached funding at the end of the day. Okay? Not, it as non-recourse in some cases. Of course, when I develop things at the end of the day, there's really no such thing as non-recourse. The expectation is always that it's non-recourse at the traditional level of things. However, once enough portfolio has been built up, that portfolio is always expected to function with an insurance capacity, including an actual insurance fund. So any partners who have had losses, if there was any situations where capital was lost for any reason, it could be at the very least refunded at full principal value plus a small APR, a minimal APR, a reasonable APR, if not the federal rate, over that period of time. Those are all things that have been taken into consideration.